I'm Allison Weisbrot, editor of Campaign US, and we're live from Cannes Lions. What trends stood out to you about the winning work this year?
In general, I think the work, it's been a little less big winnery in my mind. Normally you go into Cannes and there's like a few projects that you sort of expect a blanket win. And it's been a bit more diverse, a bit more niche, a bit smaller. I think that tends to work well for work that's a bit more local, a bit more social first. So yeah, it's a little more democratized maybe, a little less big top-down stuff.
I hope the trend is that more funny work is recognized. You know, I think that's the trend that is been the one we've all been jonesing for a bit in the last few years. It's gotten pretty serious, and rightfully so. I'm like a big fan of purpose and want brands to continue to invest in it because, you know, governments, you know, don't have the means to support people the way brands can now fill in and do. So I'm a big supporter of that, but I also feel we've lost our sense of humor a bit. So if we can get back to that, that's the trend I'm hoping to see by the end of the week, that things that are a little bit more irreverent, a little bit more on the crazy side, get also rewarded.
There hasn't been a centralized theme. Last year it felt like everything was AI and crypto and NFT. This year it feels like it's a little bit more back to some of the fun and kind of some of the joy of marketing and advertising, which I've missed, because I mean, I love the humor side of things.
How would you rate the caliber of the work this year overall?
I mean, it's Cannes. So everything that's going to be there, you have like, what, 45,000 entries and like 1% that gets shortlisted. It's always top notch. I mean, it's always over the top. It's always stuff that you look at and you strive for. And you always think like, okay, we should be up there too. And we've got a bunch that are up there, but when you compare it to what's out there, you just realize how much creativity there is and in other parts of the world, and just seeing what teams are able to bring up and pull together on, especially on brands that don't necessarily have a right to be punching that high creatively.
It feels a little lighter, maybe. A little less of the, I guess, the traditional Goosebump moments where like, I wish that was ours or we would have thought of that. This festival is sort of born and premeditated on this big idea thinking. So we're used to looking at the ideas through that lens. But a lot of where the work sort of resonates and interacts with actual people isn't in that space anymore. So I think part of this might just be us at scale as an industry struggling to tell stories that happen more fragmented and more distributed and are more sort of moment-based and channel-based. Like we sort of struggle to go, but it's still a big idea.
What piece of work most inspired you this year?
It's interesting, we talked about AI a bit, like it's still pre that time, although I really like the Heinz winner that sort of plays into the cultural moment around AI. You ask an AI image generation tool to show you a bottle of ketchup, and of course, it's Heinz.
That's not ours. I love the Heinz vodka sauce. And just the visual that they put together and how simple that was, and getting two of these iconic brands to come together and do that.
I'm really excited to see what the different brands are doing with AI. Obviously, that is the hot topic this year, and at Instacart, we have been working with AI. We just launched Ask Instacart, which is our open-ended search capability, so you can search things like, what should I have for dinner, or what's a nut-free snack for a kid? But I'm super excited to see what other brands are doing with it, both in their product and in their marketing. I know there's been some excellent work. Notco's ad campaign recently about aging animals with AI was really incredible.
There was an idea we just saw a case study on today. It was from a cell phone company in New Zealand. So they had a really small budget. They were able to do out-of-home ads as scripts for radio ads, and people called in and they recorded 2,500 free radio ads from consumers who were reading their billboards. And it was just one of those ideas, again, you're like, God, that is so fun.
You get here and you realize like what an amazing business we're in, and that the work is truly inspiring. And if you spend the time to go see the work or go see the speakers and go to the shows, you'll get a lot out of it. If you don't, you're missing the entire point.
What's something that you learned this week that you want to take back to your team?
One thing I'd love to take back to the team, based on what I'm hearing so far, are some potential new ways to incorporate AI into marketing. I think everybody's really hungry to look at the possibilities there, and there's been some really, really interesting conversations on AI this week.
Work hard. There's a lot of amazing work from around the world, and I think the US, while it does pretty well this year, I think the rest of the world is catching up pretty quick. And I think a lot of independent shops have really emerged and made some fantastic work. So I think that's good for the industry. I think there should be, great big companies like WPP and our agencies that do great work, and along with the other holding companies that do great work. And then I think there's real room for independent shops and small startups and production companies and directors who go direct to clients and in-house. I think it's better for the business if there's a little bit more balance. So I love that a lot of the independent shops are being recognized.
Definitely a lot of learnings in terms of ideas don't need massive budgets.
How do we tell stories about these ideas that happen in smaller places, but still feel like they're big? And I was in a session yesterday where that was still the conversation, what's a big idea? It's the thing that moves your brand forward, it's the thing that resonates with your consumers. It's the aha moment where somebody sees your brand or business or service in a different light. But that can be a very small thing happening in a moment on a specific channel.